military and all those who serve and protect our great nation. We ask that you be with them, safeguard and protect them, and with their families in their absence. We ask that you hear the message, ask those that hear the message today to receive it, understand the importance it is to our nation, guide and direct us in that path of getting our government to adhere to the principles and foundation of our Constitution, of what we stress and strive to push forward in our agenda. Thank you again, Lord, for another wonderful day, and bless us in our actions today and tomorrow and the rest of the week. Be with us in our travels home and safeguard and protect all of law enforcement in the nation. We pray to you now, Heavenly Father. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Yes, could you do that?
I'd like to ask the following to step forward, and anyone with your names not called, if you can gather down in front of the lectern here in the audience area. Tom Homan, former acting ICE director. Sheriff Tom Hodgson, Bristol County, Massachusetts. The Honorable Andy Biggs. Michelle Roux. Sheriff Bob Songer. Ken Cuccinelli. Angie Morphine. Maureen Maloney. Sheriff Ivy. Vicki Lyons. Sabine Durden. Sheriff Mark Lamb. Sheriff Howard Evenson. Steve Scalise. Doug Collins. Please join us up front.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Susan Tully. I'm the Law Enforcement Relation Manager for FAIR. I want to thank all of you, Angel families, supporters, all the sheriffs from around the country for coming today. We want to get started this morning, so I'd like to begin by introducing a wonderful man who's been a great partner on this issue for all the American people. Tom Homan, who has got a career in law enforcement, Border Patrol, former ICE director. Please come forward. Share your wisdom.
First of all, I want to say good morning to everybody. I was thinking on the way over here, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to do this every year? Because we're standing in front of the building of disappointment. Because the people in this building hate this president more than they take their job seriously about securing the nation and protecting Americans. A shout out to the Angel moms and dads. I met most of you when I was ICE director. I love you, and I really look up to you fighting the fight. You've had a tragic life, and you still want to be heard, and you should be heard. Unfortunately, the people behind me, the Democratic leadership of the House, they won't talk to you. They'll talk to immigrant advocates. They had illegal aliens in their building, talking to them. They have DACA recipients. They talk to them, but they won't talk to Angel moms and dads. I've testified a couple of times since I retired. I'm testifying again tomorrow. I guarantee you, I won't be asked a substantive question about policies. Whenever this administration comes up with a policy or an enforcement action that may result in the arrest or removal of an illegal alien, they're quick to have a hearing. In a matter of days, they have a hearing. I'm still waiting for the hearing on sanctuary cities. I'm still waiting on a hearing about Angel moms and dads. I'm still waiting on a hearing about the asylum abuse at our border. I'm still waiting on a hearing about the Florida Settlement Agreement. I'm still waiting on a hearing about TVPRA, where children of Central America can be treated the same as children of Mexico. I'm still waiting on a hearing to close the loopholes that are causing the crisis at the border. They claim they care about these vulnerable people coming. 31% of women are being raped making this trip. Children are dying. Criminal cartels are getting rich because they're smuggling people, and they control the southern border. Where's the hearing on that? Instead, they have a hearing where they want to attack the greatest president I've ever worked for. And I worked for 6 of them, and I respect every president I work for because I respect the office of the presidency. But no president has done more for border security and law enforcement than President Donald Trump. So again, tomorrow they'll have a hearing attacking this administration, attacking the men and women that wear the badge and gun. It's about immigration detention and inhumane conditions, supposedly. So again, it's going to be a hearing of political theater, attacking the men and women of ICE, the men and women of the Border Patrol, those who serve their nation, like the law enforcement officer standing in front of me today, the finest 1% this country has, and they're going to vilify him. And tomorrow's hearing will not result in legislation. Tomorrow's hearing is going to be speeches to continue to attack our president, while us of those out here serving our nation, those angel mom and dads in the audience, you're getting nothing from this Democratic leadership. They want to impeach the president. They want to constantly investigate the president rather than doing their job. In 2 years, I haven't seen one piece of legislation come out of this building that is protecting the American people or securing our border. There's no downside on securing our border. There's no downside on less illegal immigration. There's no downside on less illegal drugs. There's no downside in taking money out of the criminal cartel's hands who murdered our agents and smuggled drugs and people into this country illegally. Enough opioids last year were seized by ICE to kill every man, woman, and child 3 times. What have they done? So we're here today. We're going to be loud. We're not going to shut up. They wish I'd go away after I retired, but I promise the men and women of ICE that I will not leave this fight. I will defend the men and women of the Border Patrol and ICE and law enforcement to the day I die. I'm not going away, and I'm not shutting up. I'll leave one last note. Sanctuary cities, which is one of the reasons we're here today, is un-American. For those politicians that believe sanctuary cities is the right thing, let me tell you something. Sanctuary cities do not protect immigrant communities like you claim they do. I'll use Baltimore, Montgomery County, 9 rapes by illegal aliens. 7 of those victims were in the immigrant community. So tell me how your sanctuary cities protected them. 7 little girls' lives have been ruined. What did you do for them? Sanctuary cities, when you release a criminal alien back into the street, he's going to re-offend in the very community he lives. So you're not protecting the immigrant community. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals, not for U.S. citizens, not for law enforcement who's going to encounter them again. All you got to do is look at recidivism rates. Half will reoffend the first year, 75% will recidivate within 5 years. It puts the law enforcement in danger. It puts the immigrant community in danger. They're downright un-American, and this Congress needs to take action and make it illegal to have a sanctuary cities. And those politicians that push it, I've arrested a lot of U.S. citizens in my day that harbor and conceal an illegal alien in their place of business or their home. If you harbor and conceal an illegal alien in a county jail that's wanted for felony, is that not harboring and concealing? So Congress needs to take action, and I pray they do. And again, now I need to introduce a man, a sheriff, that I've been in this battle with, and I was ICE director. I met with him many times, Sheriff Hoskins. He came to my office many times, and at first I didn't know who he was. First time he came to my office, though, this man has a heart of gold. He has a heart for the angel moms and dads. He actually believes in the rule of law. And he actually believes that this, stuff like this, will affect change. And I pray to God he's right. So with no further ado, Tom Hoskins.
Well, first of all, let me just say that if any of us were to look up the word patriot in the dictionary, you'd see a picture of Tom Homan. What a great patriot he is for this nation. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to stand here with almost 200 of my fellow sheriffs from across the United States. Each and every one of us took an oath to protect our citizens. We all placed our left hand on the Bible, raised our right hand, and pledged to uphold the rules and regulations of the U.S. Constitution and do all we can to keep our neighborhoods as safe as possible. It's a sworn oath we don't take lightly, and it's our guiding light every day, on every shift, how to keep our communities as safe as possible. You know who took that same oath that America's sheriffs took? Every single member of Congress. But while America's sheriffs, every day on every shift, live by their sworn oath, members of Congress keep moving further and further away from it. By putting politics ahead of public safety, Congress has allowed our neighborhoods to become less safe. By putting political party ahead of well-being of millions of innocent Americans, Congress has allowed heroin and fentanyl to pour into our country from the southern border. By putting their own self-interests over public safety interests of the people they're sworn to protect, they've allowed criminal illegal aliens to victimize innocent Americans. And, in a direct violation of their oath and the laws they created, Congress has made a special class of people who don't have to follow the law and instead have demonized law-abiding Americans who dare to cooperate or support law enforcement to identify people unlawfully in our neighborhoods. America's sheriffs are out in our communities every day with our boots on the ground. We are the ones talking to victims. We are the ones investigating crimes. We are the ones who see crime scenes and crying families. And we're sick and tired of Congress undermining our promise, our charge, our duty, our oath to keep the citizens safe by failing to act on meaningful and comprehensive immigration reform. I've been working on immigration reform for more than 20 years, almost as long as I've been the sheriff of Bristol County, Massachusetts. I was working with Democrat and Republican leaders on a comprehensive bill that cleared the House decades ago, but died in the Senate because an aide told me it was too political for an election year. Sadly, many bills and plans have seen the same fate over the years, all while more and more criminal illegal aliens enter our country. Massachusetts, the beautiful state my family calls home, has seen the highest or largest migration rate of illegal aliens in the entire country, and it has also become the second most common place to find fentanyl in the United States. So America's sheriffs have come to Washington today in the shadows of the U.S. Capitol with a message for our elected officials. Enough is enough. It's time to honor the oath you took and protect the people of our great country. And let me make this point perfectly clear. If these members of Congress won't come together to make our communities more safe, then America's sheriffs and the millions upon millions of people we represent will support congressional candidates that will. Might I suggest that these members of Congress who put politics ahead of public safety look to the White House for a lesson in public service. When Donald J. Trump was elected President of the United States, he said he would give law enforcement its footing back in the community, the tools it needs to keep our neighborhoods safe and work to secure the border to protect our nation from criminal illegal aliens. And despite the political playground of obstruction and dysfunction Congress has become with its pointless hearings and investigations, President Trump has accomplished those goals and continues to work tirelessly to solve the illegal immigration problem in the United States. Make no mistake about it, America's sheriffs have traveled across this great nation to deliver a call to action. We are standing shoulder to shoulder with Angel families, President Trump, and our citizens to ask the people of our great nation to hold Congress accountable. Please help America's sheriffs protect our neighborhoods by contacting your congressional representatives and demanding border security and immigration reforms now. Every day we wait, every day that goes by without meaningful change, more innocent Americans are victimized by criminal illegal aliens. Thank you, and God bless the United States of America. And as you all know, there are some members of Congress who have been standing with us and fighting for immigration reform and the upholding of our rules of law. And I am very honored now to introduce the House Freedom Caucus Chair, Congressman Andy Biggs.
Yeah, I'm not Andy Biggs. I'm Congressman Scott Desjardins from Tennessee, and my heart goes out to all you standing here today. And what I just listened to is spot on. I mean, you're absolutely right, and I'm so proud to stand amongst these sheriffs that are out there fighting for us and fighting for you. Congress right now, what's going on is an embarrassment. There's a lot of members of Congress. Andy Biggs is one of them. He'll be here shortly. I'm also a member of the Freedom Caucus. Tennessee, we have tougher laws than most places in the country. But Kerry King in my district fell victim to an illegal alien drunk driver, and we lost another person in Knoxville, Tennessee. So there's no doubt that the problem has to be addressed. I, like the sheriff, am very proud of Donald Trump and what he's been trying to do. And we are making progress, but we've got so much further to go. And as long as this charade, this circus is going on in the House, now trying to impeach the man that's trying to help all you and help our country and help secure our border, it truly is a sham and a shame. And I agree that you should vote people out of office that won't stand up for something as simple as border security and protecting our country. There's really not much else to say. There's an awful lot of people that want to get this done, and as you see, there's pure political partisanship going on in the House behind us. It's not about what's right and wrong. It's about trying to undermine a duly elected president, and it's time for this to stop. We're going to have this president for the next 5 years, and he's going to get this done. And the people that can't come out here and stand with all these brave men who fight for us and protect us every day, and all you who have lost people and know the difference between right and wrong, you know, we've got a lot of soul searching to do here. And I just want to express how much I appreciate you all being here, and I appreciate the men behind me. And I'm going to fight, and other members of Congress, and Andy Biggs, and Rep. Steve Scalise, and others who are supposed to be here shortly are going to continue to fight until we get this done. Thank you so much.
And now it's my privilege to introduce one of our angel moms, Maureen Roux. Michelle.
No, you're fine.
Michelle Roux, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the sheriffs that protect us every day and try to do the right thing. Again, my name is Michelle Roux. My daughter, Sarah Roux, was killed on January 31st, 2016. Sarah had just graduated from college with a 4.0 in criminal investigations. She was stopped at a stoplight when Edwin Mejia, going 70-plus miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, rear-ended the back of my daughter's SUV. His blood alcohol level was .241. Sarah was considered brain dead once she was arrived at the hospital. We've been fighting ever since. Now, Edwin Mejia was given a lenient bond. He paid $5,000, and he has never been seen since. Our sheriffs, our president, everybody tries to help to protect us from illegal aliens, and they hit a brick wall, as do us angel families. We fight, and we continue to fight, but nobody wants to listen. The ones that do listen are outnumbered, and, you know, the Democrats want to say there's no crisis at the border. It's manufactured. Well, tell all of us, the tens of thousands of us that have lost loved ones, and that's just deaths. That's nothing else. We can't, as they've said, pass comprehensive immigration, anything. We have a Sarah's Law in there right now, and all it says is you detain them if they kill or serious bodily injury, and you have to give us information, because my ex-husband and I could get no information. If it wasn't for our wonderful senators, Chuck Grassley, Joni Ernst, Fisher, and Sass from Nebraska, we would not have the information on Edwin Mejia that we do. It is time for Congress to act. I'm tired and sick of them always putting illegals before American citizens. It is time for a change. Our lives matter. Our children's lives matter. American lives matter. Thank you, guys. I'd like to introduce, Bob Songer from Kit-Kat County, Washington. Thank you guys so much.
Well, I don't have a prepared speech, but it's an honor to be here with the families and the law enforcement officers, the Angel families. My heart goes out to you. We have one of the best presidents ever in Donald Trump. And we've all taken an oath of office. And I guess one of the reasons I might have been invited here, I'm kind of considered a maverick in the state of Washington. They tried to pass an unconstitutional Second Amendment law, which I told them I wouldn't enforce because it's by initiative. It was an amendment to the Second Amendment. So that upset Inslee, our governor, and Rob Ferguson, our attorney general, who brags how many times he sued Trump. These two guys are flat out idiots. And I call it that, and I would call it that to their face. For example, the governor just recently put out the word to all law enforcement. Now keep this in mind, to all law enforcement. You will not cooperate with ICE. If you have a jail, you will not allow ICE into your jail. And you will not report to ICE. And I know the Ninth Circuit come down on the detainer deal that it's illegal for us to honor a detainer. Well, I don't honor a detainer, but if I have an illegal immigrant, bad guy in our jail, I can guarantee you somehow ICE will be waiting in the lobby when he gets released. In fact, I've even mentioned publicly I have ICE on speed dial, and I will call them. For example, we had a cartel grow in our county. That's Klickitat County in central Washington. 28,000 plants. We arrested 3 illegals. When they got to the top of the canyon, ICE was waiting for them. So our governor, number one, Inslee, does not like law enforcement. He makes that clear. He's all in favor of sanctuary cities, which is totally, totally wrong. That does nothing but protect the bad guy who's here illegally in our country. And it creates other victims. For example, a little over a month ago in Kittitas, not Klickitat, but these are Indian names, by the way, Kittitas County, deputy sheriff was shot and killed by an illegal that should have been deported at least twice. Now that's ridiculous. So I can feel for the Angel families out here. It's a tragedy. But we need to support President Trump in the border wall, getting rid of sanctuary cities, and most of all, live by the rule of law, which is the Constitution of the United States, and protect our Second Amendment rights. We lose our Second Amendment rights, we've lost all the others. And take it to the bank. The far left, if they have their way, you will not own a firearm. That's where they're headed with this. They'll chip away at that Second Amendment. So, having said that, I'd like to say much more, but it's hard for a politician to only talk for 5 minutes, right? So anyway, love you all. I'm honored to be here, and anything I can ever do, I would be happy to do it without question. And I want to thank Susan and Sarah and the others who have put this together. They've done an outstanding job. Thank you. Oh. Okay. I appreciate that because I probably butchered the name.
No, that's an easy name. It's just a few letters. I want to introduce my friend. He became my friend, and he's all of our friends. Because if you want to pick one congressman in that building who's fighting the fight, who understands this issue as well as I do, which he's probably the only one that does, because I've done it for a long time. A man I've sat shoulder to shoulder with in briefings and meetings. And he's fighting the fight, folks. He's fighting against the ones who don't believe in immigration enforcement. He's a strong defender of Border Patrol, strong defender of ICE, and he won't shut up either. Congressman Andy Biggs, our friend.
I thought I was going to go after Tom, and I'd clean up after him, but he's going to clean up after me, looks like. So, what an honor to be with you. See so many people who fight the fight daily with our wonderful officers and sheriffs, and man, we love you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do. And the Angel families, thank you. You got to keep fighting. I just stepped out of a hearing on an assault weapon ban. I asked someone the other day, what's an assault weapon? Blank look. Blank look. They don't know. But so the sheriff just spoke and said we got to protect our Second Amendment rights. We do. But you know what? We are a rule of law nation. We believe in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America. They are the foundation for what makes us unique in the world. But I'll tell you what, when we begin to not hold people accountable under the law, guess what happens? You get the beginnings of anarchy. So when we saw on our board, I live in Arizona, and we saw just a massive surge of folks coming across. And this has been going on. I've been in this fight for 20 years. We face this. We have faced this. Our ICE agents, we have people in the United States Congress that hate them, that want to disband them. What are they thinking? Well, they're not thinking. That's the problem. And I thank God every day for Donald Trump. Because you know what? He's the first president I've seen that actually says, let's stop illegal immigration. The first one. I mean, we've watched, I can't tell you how many amnesty plans we've watched. And what does amnesty be? Amnesty is an incentive to come to the United States of America illegally, for hopes that you're going to receive amnesty at some point and come to this country. It is a fight. And you know that. And I'm preaching to the choir. So let me just ramble for a second and riff on that. If we do not control our border, and I mean like ASAP, this country is changed. Becomes a country of lawlessness. And right now you see that. So when you see sanctuary cities, you have elected officials who have sworn, because every elected official does this, they swear to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And when those people say we are not going to enforce the law, you have the breeding ground of lawlessness. And when you have lawlessness and the attempt to take away your Second Amendment rights together, you know what you have? Tyranny. You're going to have tyranny. And that is why we fight on the border. If you were to boil it down, I mean, there's a lot of reasons I fight on the border, but there's one simple thing. We are a country that respects the rule of law. And when you don't, these people that want to come in both legally and illegally, here's the deal. They understand that America is different. It's unique. It is a free nation. And what makes us free is our laws and our willingness to hold everyone accountable to obey those laws. Well, I've been down to the border a whole bunch this year and last year, and I grew up in southern Arizona, went down a lot. It has changed. And I know that my friends here are going to talk about this. It's not like it was. Even the ones who come over illegally today, they used to come years ago, and they would stay for a season, they'd go back home. But today they're coming in droves, and they're staying. And you know what? We can talk about numbers, but in Arizona, you have a disproportionate number of the population of our prisons that are illegal aliens. And guess what? In the violence section of the Department of Corrections in Arizona, you have a disproportionate number of those folks who are illegally in this country and should have been gone. You get the wreck and ruins of families. I think of my friend Marianne Mendoza and what happened to her son Brandon by an illegal alien. I think of my friend Steve Ronnebeck and what happened to his son Grant. This is my one little district, and we see these types of things. His son Grant was killed by an illegal alien, point blank range with a gun. This is in my small district. I have the smallest size district in the state of Arizona. We just have four cities in that town. We see this on a regular basis. I think of what happened in Baltimore recently. That's inexcusable. But it's being driven by people who want to change this nation. And I see it every day fighting in the Congress. We need your help. We need people to elect people who understand that oath of office, who will fight. So, again, I commend all of you. I thank you for letting me just be associated with you. And we're going to fight, and I will not give it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Biggs. We so appreciate your support, sir, not only for all Americans, but for those who are in the trenches every single day. The Angel families who are here today are just a small portion, small fraction of the Americans who have been victimized across this country due to illegal immigration. Miss Angie Morphine, would you please come up to the microphone, please? Yes. I would like for you to tell the American people how you have been affected by illegal immigration in the United States of America.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angie Morphine, and on December 1st, 1990, my son Ruben had just turned 13, and on December 29th, 1990, he was gunned down by an illegal immigrant in a gang. When I got to the hospital, the doctor wouldn't let me see him until they actually cleaned him up. And somebody identified him, anybody except the mother. When my husband finally went in and identified my son, the doctor came and called me to a corner and asked me if Ruben had any enemies. And I said no. Ruben was a small little kid. Didn't pass my nose. For 13, he was tiny. And I said, no, Ruben didn't have any enemies. Everybody loved him because he was so small and he was so funny. And he always had to prove to people that he was funny. And he goes, well, it's like they grabbed your son by the shoulder and just shot him in the back of the head. If Ruben lives through the night, he's made it. But if he lives, he'll be a vegetable for the rest of his life. As I walked in to see my baby, they had him on a table, and he had tubes all over him and a big Band-Aid all over his head. And as I walked in and I walked closer, they told me that Ruben was dying, that the only thing keeping him alive was the machine, and that they were going to have to cut it. I asked if I could kiss my baby goodbye before they cut it, and they let me, and I seen a teardrop fall out of his good eye because his left eye was almost hanging out from where the bullet was lodged. That was the hardest thing that I had ever gone through, and I think I ever will go through. There's nothing harder than losing a child. And for me, it was very hard because we didn't know who killed Ruben. Nobody knew who killed Ruben. Everybody was like in disbelief. It was actually one of the first homicides in Monterey County in Salinas, and it took a while. It took a while before they found out that the guy was actually an illegal immigrant. He was a gang member, and he was from Huntington Park. He was in Salinas visiting family for the holidays when he decided to do a drive-by or do some kind of harm to somebody because they were initiating. It took like maybe 3 years before they actually caught him, but America's Most Wanted got involved, and they came to Monterey County, did my son's story, and Ezekiel Mariscal was caught in the state of Jalisco, and he was sentenced for 20 years for my son's death. Back then, I got justice. because there was still good people out there, good cops. Everybody was good. Everybody wanted him behind bars, and I got what I wanted. I got justice, and I never had to see the face of the person who changed my life forever. He changed my life. He changed my family's life. He destroyed my community. Gang violence went crazy. In Monterey County, we have so many cold cases that nobody knows who killed their babies, but I know they're in Mexico. This problem affects the Latino community more than anybody because we are mixed among them, and everybody thinks we're the same and that we think the same, but we're not. We don't think the same. I was born here, and I love being American. I want to mention... Thank you. I've been fighting this fight for a very long time. I was here 20 years ago with my sister and Barbara Coe, and it was just me. It really hurts me to see so many families because our immigrations have just gone down the drain. I would like to mention angel grandparents, Laura and Fernando Basto, lost their grandson, Fernando, at the hands of an illegal alien on May 19, 2016. Angel mom Virginia Krager lost her daughter, Tiffany, on February 2, 2015, from drugs that pour over our southern border. Bill Hartzell lost his grandmother, Louise, at the hands of a violent illegal alien on July 21, 2013. Angel mom Agnes Gibney lost her son, Ronald Da Silva, at the hands of an illegal alien on April 27, 2002. Angel parents Christina Strawberry and Kimberly Roberts lost their daughter, Teresa, on June 13, 2016, when she was murdered by an illegal alien. Angel mom Marianne Mendoza lost her son, Sergeant Brandon Mendoza, on May 12, 2014, at the hands of an illegal alien. I just want to say, after all these years that I've been fighting, the only one that actually has done anything and kept his word is my president, President Donald Trump. I love my president. Thank you.
I think everybody here loves their president, President Donald J. Trump. That's why we're here. We recognize the sacrifices that man makes every single day for the American people. He stands up for his convictions. He stands up for what's right. He stands up for the United States Constitution. And that's exactly why we are a nation of laws. We are a nation of laws. But to some of those who sit every single day behind us in that large palace, they couldn't care less about our nation's laws. They couldn't care less. They put immigrants' rights before Americans' rights. And it's wrong. Our next speaker is a man that I consider to be a very good friend of mine, a man that's very passionate about what we do in American law enforcement, a sheriff who has stood up very proudly for his county of over 600,000 people, a sheriff who puts it all on the line every single day when he puts that uniform on and stands up for the rights of our angel families, those who are present. As you well know, our angel families represented in this crowd today are of all races, all ethnic backgrounds. Beautiful families who have lost loved ones. It's wrong. And that's why we're here. It's absolutely wrong. We cannot remain silent any longer. We're going to hold our elected representatives responsible for what they've been elected to do, and that's to represent our interest, the Americans' interest, not the immigrants' interest. Our next speaker, from Brevard County, Florida, fasten your seatbelt, Sheriff Wayne Ivey.
Good morning, everyone. Today we are honored to stand on the steps of our nation's capital with angel families from across the country who have each suffered a tremendous loss because of our nation's illegal immigration crisis. While our hearts and prayers are with them as they struggle to cope with the loss of their loved one, I can't help but think that's not enough. I can't help but think that while faith in God will help ease their pain, we as a nation are responsible for the hurt they feel because we failed to protect their daughter, their son, their spouse, and so on. I can't help but think if we as a nation had taken action, Perhaps one of their family members might still be here to share life with them, that maybe each family standing here today with us would still have the ability to hold their loved one in their arms, to celebrate their graduation from college, to enjoy Christmas together, to walk their daughter down the aisle, or just even enjoy a phone call with their loved one. I also can't help but think that right now is the time to say enough is enough. That right now is the time to say we are going to take action so that the list of angel families in our country doesn't grow any larger. So today we stand as sheriffs and law enforcement leaders from almost every state with a unified voice and message for our congressional members. That message is very simple. We have an illegal immigration crisis, and you need to take action right now to fix it. In case some of you in Congress have forgotten, government's #1 responsibility is to protect its citizens. So in order to do that, you in Congress need to do your job. Now, to the many of you in Congress that get it and have done everything in your power to fix this problem, I say thank you. But to those who have become obstructionists, I say get off your lazy butts and do your jobs. Our president and his team at Customs, Border Patrol, ICE, and the Attorney General's office have identified the problem. They've identified the solution, and they've even gone as far as to identify the resources we need to fix it. Yet Congress continues to ignore the solution, their responsibilities to protect our citizens, and even worse, their oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. In fact, if you ask me or the nearly 200 sheriffs standing here with me today, we will tell you that Congress has not only not done their jobs on this issue, but they have become obstructionist in law enforcement's efforts to protect what I like to call the 3 C's: our citizens, our cops, and our Constitution. Let there be no doubt, our president and his administration have stood strong beside law enforcement and our mission to protect our citizens. But Congress has failed us miserably. And as a citizen and a veteran of law enforcement for almost 40 years, I'm sickened by it. Illegal immigration doesn't stop at the border. It filters into our communities, helps fuel the opioid crisis, and even targets our taxpayers because of the resources required to address each issue. In my own community alone, the opioid epidemic has led to 172 overdose deaths in the past 24 months. In fact, our agency recently seized in just one case enough fentanyl that if it were put into the amount required for a lethal dosage, it would be enough to kill everyone in our county of 600,000 citizens. As a nation, as a community, as lawmakers and law enforcement leaders, we have to step up right now and say enough is enough, as it's time to fix this problem. I'm extremely proud of the state of Florida as under the direction of our great governor, Ron DeSantis, we recently banned sanctuary cities. In doing so, we created a partnership environment for local law enforcement officers to work hand in hand with our partners at ICE and CBP. Folks, it's time for us to remember that issues don't start out as a crisis. They become a crisis or an epidemic because they are left unaddressed or unattended. In this case, the border crisis exists today because it was completely ignored and avoided by Congress. To be honest, it wasn't just ignored. It was used as a political pawn that, without question, has caused pain and suffering for families like those standing here with us today. Now, I realize that here in Washington, you like to make things a little complicated, but doing your job has never been more simple. In fact, in my opinion, it's never been more righteous. So starting today, we as a nation, as sheriffs, as citizens, as angel families, as taxpayers, and most importantly, as your boss, the voters, we demand that you support our president, our federal partners, and our responsibilities to protect our citizens by immediately taking action to secure our borders. It's time to put political agendas and posturing aside and start supporting our federal partners at Customs and Border Patrol. Start holding those accountable for creating hiding places or sanctuary cities, as they like to call them, for illegals. And it's time to create a clear, defined, and expeditious path for citizenship for those who want to come to our country the right way, as they love the concept of our great nation just as much as we do. So simply put, Congress, it's time for you to do your job, or the American citizens, with the help of all these sheriffs standing here today, will do our jobs by voting your butts out of office. Get to work.
Amen, Sheriff. Thank you so much for those words, man. Powerful words, powerful words. Folks, a man who's very, very important and what we're doing in this country, what we're trying to do in this country, what our president's trying to do in this country. The acting director of, it has been the acting director of U.S. Services and for our U.S. citizens for the United States of America, Mr. Ken Cuccinelli.
It is an honor to be here today to honor the loss of the families represented here and to join with the law enforcement behind me and all around us here to let you know that your loss will not be in vain if we have anything to say about it. And if your president has anything to say about it, and I dare say he does, he says it to me forcefully often, and I'm in the Department of Homeland Security. I run USCIS, the legal immigration agency, along with our partners ICE and CBP. We form what used to be INS, and we're handling the crisis at the border, getting our arms around it, thanks largely to the willingness of this president to be aggressive in a way none of his predecessors were before. And one of the impediments we face, ICE in particular, is a lack of cooperation with law enforcement across the country in sanctuary cities and counties. So the other reason I'm here is to thank the law enforcement officials, the sheriffs that are represented here, who've done what has been the American tradition simply, and that is cooperate. Cooperate with other levels of law enforcement, state and federal in this case. It is incredible, and you can count on one hand the number of times local law enforcement officials and state law enforcement officials have failed to cooperate in enforcing the law with the U.S. government. And none of those examples anyone involved with is proud of. And I dare say when we look back on this history, they will not be proud of the losses they have induced and countenanced in our communities across this country, in the sanctuary cities and counties of this country. Right here in Montgomery County, Maryland, in the last 9 weeks, they've had 9 sexual assaults by people who were here illegally, many of whom they released without letting ICE know. Why is that hard? What is so hard about removing violent criminals from your community? Why is that hard? I know every one of them in law enforcement in Montgomery County took an oath just like the folks who are standing here. Why is it only the folks standing here who get it, who actually defend their communities, and, by the way, help keep all the rest of us safe in doing it? That is become a political club of the extreme left. And Sheriff pointing to the palace behind us, I like that description, is absolutely right. I mean, I can tell you from my agency, we see Congress have show hearings when they don't like something that's happened with respect to an illegal immigrant, but they haven't had a hearing in the House on actually passing a bill to improve the situation since I've been at USCIS. On the Senate side, Senator Graham at least tried to close some of these asylum loopholes. He didn't get a lot of cooperation. But at least on the Senate side, they're trying. On the House side, it's all show. It's all show. And they got another show they've started up with this president recently. And anything to distract. Anything to distract. The losses across this country, represented here by these brave families to join us today, are tragedies that don't have to happen. They don't have to happen. They're preventable, folks. They're preventable. And I'm so proud of these families to come here and try and prevent it from happening to other families in the future. We have a president who's committed to being aggressive about this in ways that no Republican or Democrat before him has been. Like I said, I can tell you that because I work for him and I get it upside the head, you know. So, but we are using every legal tool at our disposal with very, very little help from Congress. Where we get help is cooperating law enforcement like the folks represented here all across the country. The folks who don't want to cooperate are the minority. They don't represent America, they don't represent public safety, and they certainly don't achieve public safety. I'm so pleased to be here. I want to thank all of you. I know so many of you traveled from all over the country to be here and have your voices heard. It is so important for your voice to be heard. The one promoted by the media, and the one promoted by a lot of the activists here in the palace behind me, is not that of American victims of illegal immigration. This is not a victimless situation. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of victims, and that's just the people assaulted, killed, victimized by crime, to say nothing of the impact on our economy and on jobs for ordinary Americans, something else this president cares an awful lot about. I very much appreciate y'all's invitation to join you today. I'm so pleased you all are here. My heart goes out to all of the families, and my thanks for what you do every day goes out to the law enforcement. There is no one else in this country, we ask to get up in the morning or in the middle of the night, if that's their shift, and stand between us and evil every single day. So thank all of you. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Director Cusinelli, whether you realize or not, sir, your services are so darn appreciated by the American people and by our nation's sheriffs. God bless you for what you do. I commend you, I applaud you, and I salute you, sir. Thank you for what you do. Folks, it is so tragic that we have any families here who have been affected directly by illegal immigration. But that's why we're here. Because the families that are present, our angel families, represent the very reason why immigration reform is needed, and we must curtail and stop illegal immigration into the United States. Our next angel mom is another family member present here today who's been directly affected by illegal immigrants. I would like to ask Miss Maureen Maloney to please step up to the podium.
I want to thank all the families, sheriffs, former acting ICE Director Tom Homan, the Honorable Andy Biggs, the Honorable Steve Scalise, and the acting director of USCIS, Ken Cuccinelli, for attending the rally today. And I especially want to thank FAIR for making this rally possible. I think we can all agree that our country has an unprecedented illegal immigration crisis. For many years, we've been told the illegal immigrant population has hovered around 12 million people. However, recently we've learned the population has added nearly 2 million illegal aliens in the last 2 years, bringing the total to over 14 million, and I'm sure it's much higher than that. Illegal immigration is a bipartisan issue. Congress has the power to solve this crisis, and Congress needs to act now. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime, nor does it care what party you are affiliated with. Every year, thousands of citizens are killed by illegal aliens. Even more are raped, forced into sex trafficking, maimed, assaulted, and have their identity stolen. My son, Matthew Denis, was 23 years old when he was tragically killed by an illegal alien. Matthew was riding his motorcycle in a residential area when a drunk, unlicensed, criminal alien ran a stop sign and collided with Matthew's motorcycle. Despite pleas from local witnesses, the illegal alien dragged my son a quarter of a mile to his death. His life and future were taken from him in a blink of an eye. Our family, as we knew it, was destroyed, and we are now permanently separated. This is a horror that I relive every day, but I am determined to prevent other mothers, fathers, and families from having to experience this terrible pain that I suffer and these other angel families suffer. The blood of my son, the blood of these victims from these families here, are on the hands of Congress. Congress has been complicit in Matthew's death and all these deaths that you see on these posters here, and the thousands and thousands of other deaths. The rapes, the assaults, the sex trafficking, and the drug trafficking that occurs daily. In the 8 years since my son's death, the only thing that has changed is the death toll. There's a quote by Plato that states, "Your silence gives consent," and that is exactly what Congress has been doing all these years. If one does not object to or stand up against something that one does not like or agree with, then one is complicit in permitting it to happen. Our country has rolled out the red carpet and incentivized people to cross our borders by implementing policies that allow anyone who arrives with a child and states they have a credible fear for returning to their country of origin be allowed to enter the U.S. and stay here while awaiting a hearing. And we know what happens then. We also have a porous southern border that permits people to illegally enter the country and also allows the drug cartel to infest our country with drugs that fuel the opioid epidemic. This, along with government programs for food, clothing, and medical care, creates a magnet effect, and one only has to wonder why wouldn't they come here? To add insult to injury, employers provide illegal aliens with jobs, and 13 states now provide them with a driver's license. Illegal aliens use false Social Security numbers, and there are no consequences. When they commit more serious crimes, they get a public defender to defend their rights. And to top it all off, sanctuary states and cities provide protection for criminal aliens at the expense of legal immigrants and U.S. citizens. We can no longer tolerate Congress's refusal to work with President Trump to solve the crisis. We can no longer tolerate our loved ones being killed, raped, maimed, and assaulted. We can no longer tolerate our country being infested with drugs. We can no longer tolerate criminal aliens being protected by sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. The United States needs a multi-pronged approach to protect its citizens and legal immigrants from illegal aliens. We must stem the surge of illegal aliens entering our country by securing our southern border. We must implement a biometric visa entry and exit system that tracks visa overstays and go after them. We must once and for all end the catch and release. We must stop providing government benefits to illegal aliens and implement a mandatory E-Verify system for all employers, thereby removing the economic incentives. There must be criminal prosecution of employers who hire illegal workers. I implore Nancy Pelosi and members of Congress to make the safety and security of Americans their priority. It's time to put an end to the slaughter and maiming of Americans at the hands of illegal aliens. It's time for Congress to secure our border and end illegal immigration.
Thank you, Maureen. For our videographers and our cameramen and women here, thank you so much for your patience. We truly do appreciate what you're doing here and the service you're providing for the American people. Folks, our next speaker is no stranger to America's television sets. He is my brother from a taller mother. It's Pinal County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Lamb. Please give him a warm welcome.
He was supposed to introduce me as the most handsome of the group, but he didn't do that. You know, you had to have a cowboy hat come up here and represent a little bit for these sheriffs here. What an honor it is to be here on the lawn of Congress, standing shoulder to shoulder with these fellow brethren in law enforcement, of sheriffs, these angel families, these congressmen and women who've taken the time to come out here. What an honor. This building here behind us represents freedom. It represents honor. It represents something special that people died to come to this country to achieve. We're throwing that away here in this country. Those who are in there right now are failing us miserably. We have sheriffs from across this country, from California all the way to the other side to the East Coast, that are here representing, because this is an issue that has plagued the entire country of America. It is something that started many, many years ago that we dealt with in Arizona and Texas and New Mexico and California, something that the majority of the Americans didn't think was a problem. It's a trickle effect. What we thought was a drip of water has now flooded the basement and the first floor of our home. It is something that we have to stop. We took our media out in Arizona. We're 70 miles off the border, mind you. We have an Indian reservation on the south end of our county that runs into Mexico. we took our media out, and in 2 days we had 22 apprehensions and arrests, 300 pounds of marijuana, other drugs. 5 of those 22 were American citizens transporting illegal aliens into this country. And one of them was a sex offender who had been arrested and convicted in California of a sex offense, sent back to Mexico, who came back over here again. These are the type of people we're trying to stop from coming into our communities. We were just in Columbus, Ohio, where they're feeling the plague of the opioid epidemic here in this country, as is every other sheriff. I talked to a sheriff from a small county in Georgia. Same thing, the drugs are overrunning their communities. 40% of all illegal drugs are estimated to come through the Arizona borders. You don't think that we think this is important? This is so important to our country. We need not only our congressmen and women to get on board, but we need Americans to realize that we have a major crisis here in this country. We have a bad problem in America of treating symptoms. We love to treat symptoms. Well, I'm sorry, I'm here to tell you that we've got to treat the problem. We have to address this wound. I know people's feelings are going to get hurt. I know that this is going to be painful. And there's going to be a lot of hard decisions that will have to be made. But folks, these decisions have to be made, and they have to be made now. Thank you. I'm fortunate enough to have Andy Biggs as one of our congressmen. And you can see what a great man he is and the fight he's fighting. We're fighting this fight every day. Sheriffs in Texas and Dallas area, not even close to the border, several hours away, pulling families over in cars where the kids have no idea who the people are in the front seat and the people have no idea who the kids are in the back seat. We've got story after story. These aren't campfire stories, folks. These are real stories affecting people in our communities. One thing about sheriffs, I always say that these people, congressmen, put politics before people. I can tell you the sheriffs that stand behind me and many of these sheriffs across this country, we put people before politics. And that's what we need to do here in America. And if you don't think our Constitution's in jeopardy, you're kidding yourself. That same trickle effect that we allowed to happen for illegal immigration, human smuggling, drug smuggling, that same trickle effect is happening to our Constitution. We need to stand strong on the Constitution. It's non-negotiable. The Second Amendment is non-negotiable, shall not be infringed. One more thing to say about these sheriffs. This is your last line of defense. We're grateful for our federal partners and all they do and the work that we do together. We couldn't do it without them. But in the end, it's your sheriffs that protect your freedoms, that protect your communities. We care. We've traveled all this way to show you how much we care and how important of an issue it is for us. And I hope that we as Americans can grasp that, and especially as my cohort and compadre and friend from Brevard County said, get off your butts, Congress, and do something. God bless America.
Thank you, Sheriff Mark Lamb. So appreciate you, my friend, the job you do down in Pinell County, Arizona, and the fight that you're fighting every day on our border. Folks, make no mistake about it. 87% of all crime that we handle as law enforcement officers, 87% is directly linked to addiction. Directly linked to addiction. The Republic of Mexico has vowed to saturate the United States with crystal methamphetamine, heroin, and cocaine. They are getting a supply of cocaine directly from South America, coming into Central America, and the Republic of Mexico has agreed with their South American counterparts to assume all risk in bringing that dope into the United States of America. Why? Because U.S. citizens are by far the largest consumers of illegal drugs in the free world, the largest consumers. And where there's a demand, unfortunately, there's always going to be a supply. But what we can't do is to allow that to freely flow into the United States as it's doing right now. We finally have a president of the United States who's addressing this issue head on Now is the time. It's now or never to address illegal immigration. We have the right man in the right place at the right time, and we've got to address it. Thank God for Donald J. Trump. Another angel mother that I'm going to introduce is Miss Vicki Lyons, who's going to tell you how illegal immigration has affected her and her family. Miss Vicki?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Shermock Lyon, and I'd like to tell my daughter Nikki's story. On Saturday, November 17, 2001, my 25-year-old daughter, Danielle Nicole Nikki Shermock, was happy to work overtime so she could buy Christmas gifts for her children, ages 4 and 14 months. I was babysitting my grandchildren that morning. Nikki picked up the children a little after noon, and 42 minutes later, she was killed by Fernando Reyes, an unlicensed illegal alien from Mexico. He was drunk, he was high on cocaine, he was driving on the wrong side of the road, and he smashed into my daughter's car head on. She was crushed and instantly died. My grandchildren were also in the car. My 4-year-old granddaughter, Brianna, was dead at the scene, but thank God she was resuscitated by the EMTs, who arrived on the scene within 3 minutes. My 14-month-old grandson, Brandon, sustained non-life-threatening injuries as his baby car seat held him securely. The children were life-flighted into Orlando Regional Trauma Center, where Brianna was rushed into neurosurgery. Her brain had literally seen the light of day. Her tiny body was broken, head to toe, and she was bleeding internally. She would face many years of recovery, rehabilitation, and has epilepsy to this day from her brain injury. Neither grandchild, neither one of these precious babies have a memory of their mother. Fernando Reyes sustained broken legs, and he survived. He was moved to an Orlando area rehab facility where his families come in the middle of the night and snuck him out. He has been a fugitive from the law for 18 years. How many more Americans has he killed in those 18 years? I had to identify my daughter's crushed body in the morgue. It was the most gut-wrenching, excruciating, painful situation of my life. To this day, that memory, that picture, remains vivid in my mind. I would like to say to all the politicians and the law enforcement officers that are here that are fighting with us, thank you and God bless you all. Yeah. However, to every politician and law enforcement agency and the organizations who are harboring and protecting these illegal alien fugitives, you are co-conspirators, and you are complicit for our American children's deaths. You have blood on your hands. Amen. You took an oath to protect all Americans. How many more legal American parents will you allow to identify their child's body in a morgue? Amen. Congress, you must act now. Angel families do not want anyone else to share in our tragedies. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize some more angel parents. Angel parents Bobby and Cayenne Michael, right here. They lost their son Brandon at the hands of an illegal alien on August 15th, 2007. Angel wife Marla Wolf. Marla? Is she here? Yeah. Marla. And her mother-in-law is here also. Lost her husband Carlos at the hands of an illegal alien on December 8th, 2017. Angel mom Arlene Saduk, is that how you say it? Is she here? No. lost her son Sander at the hands of an illegal alien on December 8th, 2017. Angel dad, Steve Ronenbeck. Steve, throw up your hand. There he is. Lost his son Grant at the hand of a repeat illegal alien criminal. He was a dreamer on January 22nd, 2015. Angel mom Laura Wilkerson. Laura, there she is over there. She lost her son Josh at the hands of an illegal alien on November 16th, 2010. Angel mom Kathy Hall. Kathy,
Right there.
there she is. Was she short? I didn't mean that disrespectful, hon. She lost her daughter Haley at the hands of an illegal alien on November 7th, 2016. And these are just minuscule amount of people. I'd like to say thank you. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. God bless our Leos. All of you, we love you. We thank you. All of our politicians that are here, thank you. We love you. God bless America.
Miss Vicki Lyons, very, very powerful story, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of our nation's sheriffs, please allow me to express our condolences once again. God bless you. God bless you, ma'am. No parent should ever have to experience that, especially at the hands of an illegal alien. No parent should have to experience that. Folks, our next speaker is a long-serving sheriff in our nation from the great state of Texas, a man who is literally on the front lines in Texas every day dealing with the illegal immigration issue, a man who is the immediate past president of our National Sheriff's Association. He's represented the interest of nearly 3,200 sheriffs from throughout the nation, but a man who's been on the front line for many, many years. And that's going to be our Rockwall County, Texas Sheriff, Harold Evanson. Sheriff, please step to the podium. God bless you, brother. Thank you.
You bet. First off, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. And I was thinking when all of these people were speaking, and I'd spent a lot of time thinking about things that I could say that would be meaningful, and I don't think they failed to cover one of them, but I'll bore you with what I think about the situation. And first off, I want you to understand that I am not in support of sanctuary cities, never have been, never will be. It's wrong. Okay. I'm Harold Evanson, Sheriff of Rockwall County, Texas, as he said, past president of the National Sheriff's Association, and co-chair of the Border Security Committee of the National Sheriff's Association. I've been in office almost 19 years. The oldest and simplest justification for government is as protector, protecting the citizens from violence. Let me restate that. The oldest and simplest justification for government is as protector, protecting its citizens from violence. Since protecting its citizens is the oldest and simplest, doesn't it make sense that secure borders are a means of protecting citizens from violence? Those who want to be here for a better life can come into our country illegally in numerous locations because of our porous borders. If the ones who can come here illegally for a better life, does it not make sense to presume that those who would like to enter our country for the purpose of doing us harm can do so as well? We know this has happened. In fact, many people have articulated today some of the horrors that you had to go through because of the loss of a loved one at the hands of an illegal immigrant. We know this has happened on many occasions due to the documentation of the criminal acts committed by those here illegally against our citizens, some extremely heinous in nature. Given that this is a true statement, then our government has failed in its oldest and simplest requirement, protecting its citizens. Whose fault is this? It has to be Congress, who has failed to provide meaningful immigration reform and adequate border security for at least 40 years. Drug and human trafficking are serious threats to the security of our citizens. Would a secure border reduce the threat of illegal drugs as well as human trafficking and the death and violence associated with this multi-billion illegal tax-free enterprise operated by powerful cartels which have absolutely no compassion for human life? In 2017, there were 70,000 overdose deaths in our country from opioids. In 2018, there were 68,000. The casualties in the Vietnam War, plus all the homicides and automobile accidents in 2017, does not equal this 2-year total of overdoses of 138,000. Most of the illegal drugs come into our country by way of our southwestern borders. If our politicians really cared to know what, and I might say if our liberal politicians really wanted to know what is going on relative to the lack of security at our borders, all they have to do is go to our southwestern borders, talk with sheriffs, border patrol agents, and ranchers, some of which have lived there for several generations. In most cases, when our politicians go to our borders, they do so for a photo op, which accomplishes absolutely nothing. Furthermore, it is my opinion that law enforcement should refuse to participate in these photo op trips at the borders as well. Many who attempt to come into our country illegally die on the dangerous and difficult journey. Example, in Pima County, Arizona alone, an average of approximately 100 bodies are recovered annually by sheriff's deputies. Isn't it safe to assume that if those who would be inclined to try and enter our country illegally knew that it was extremely difficult to do so due to the security at our borders, the deaths in this instant of illegals trying to come in would probably be reduced significantly? That might be something the liberal politicians would like. The conclusion that can be drawn is that our government must do a better job of securing our borders to protect its citizens from the incredible death toll caused by illegal drugs, as well as the numerous unnecessary deaths and injuries caused by illegals in our country in the commission of criminal acts. Unfortunately, for the citizens of our great country, it is my opinion that some in Congress have put their hatred for our president above their responsibility of protecting the citizens that they were elected to represent. We need, as has been said many times here today, we need to be demanding that the government's response to citizens from violence be their first priority, because that's what it says in our Constitution, and they're not following that. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. Short of my wife and my 2 kids and my 3 grandchildren, the greatest thing that's ever happened to me was getting elected sheriff. When I look around today, I see so many friends that I have made in the last 19 years. Thank y'all very much, and God bless you. I'll find it here in just a second. I got it right here. All right. The next speaker, Representative Steve Scalise, Representative Scalise. He's not? Okay. You got it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
You bet.
Folks, we have one more speaker. This is a woman that I met several years ago here in Washington, D.C. She's one of our angel moms, a woman who lost her precious son named Dominic. You're going to hear about Dominic and what happened to Dominic. But the first time I met this woman, I fell in love with her. I truly did. I listened to her story. I wanted to hear her story. I told everybody I wanted to hear her story, and we had been in a meeting for quite some time. And I said, I want to hear your story. I want to hear what happened to you. And she's going to wrap this up for the day. But I want you to hear the story by Sabine Durden, one of our angel moms here today. Sabine, would you come forward?
Love you too. Have we all had enough yet? Are we all tired? Yep. Good. And we got to stop whispering. I'm Sabina, also known as Dom's mom. I'm a legal immigrant from Germany and a proud naturalized citizen since 1996. Yes, ma'am. 6 years. My son Dominic, a.k.a. German Chocolate, he was born in Germany, worked for the Riverside Sheriff's Communication Department as a 911 dispatcher, was a volunteer firefighter, studied to become a motorcycle cop, and always made sure his community was well taken care of and safe. Sadly, the sanctuary city of Riverside, like all sanctuary cities, didn't care that known criminal illegal aliens were living amongst them. They are allowed to roam our streets freely without fear of consequences, out of the shadows, and placing every American in harm's way. On July 12, 2012, my only child, my best friend, love of my life, my 30-year-old son, Dominic, was killed in California by one of them, an illegal alien with a lengthy arrest record, 2 DUIs, no license, insurance, or registration. The illegal turned his truck in the path of my son, riding his motorcycle to work, killing him instantly. He was charged with only a misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter, sentenced to 9-month, 5-year probation, and ended up serving only 35 days. He not only destroyed my family, but he took away Dominic's bright future, my joy of spending more time with him and watching my son living his best life. His death left me and many of his friends all over the world with shattered hearts, nightmares, and a huge void in our lives. All I have left of my child are his ashes in this urn. I'm here with AVIAC, Advocates for Victims of Illegal Alien Crime, as a voice for my son and so many others who don't have a voice. A heartfelt thank you to Susan Tully, her team, Ed, and the many kind people of FAIR for making this epic event happen and bringing us all here to Washington. Thank you to all the sheriffs, ICE, and Border Patrol for not just enforcing our laws daily, trying to keep us safe, but for also giving your time to come here to stand shoulder to shoulder with us as we battle against illegal immigration. Congress, do your job to help and support these brave men and women of law enforcement to keep themselves and America safe. I'm so very proud and honored to be here with so many of my fellow angel advocates who are now the voices for their loved one. These bracelets represent one life that was taken, and this is just a few of them. My heart cries and breaks with so many broken-hearted families that are present here, and also for the countless victims out there who have not been heard about. Look around and see the devastation and pain in their faces. We all are permanently separated, and even just one life lost or negatively impacted by an illegal alien is one too many. Congress, we need you to do your job to protect all of our citizens so they will never know the pain and grief we deal with 24/7, 365 days. We deserve to feel safe and protected in our country. Congress, don't let more American families be separated forever by people who are not supposed to be here in the first place. We have a right to demand from elected officials that they work for their constituents and Americans first, not for illegal lawbreakers. Congress, this is not about left or right, about racism or hate. This is about the present and future of every American life here. This is a crisis of epic proportion that affects every American. Congress, get it together and start working with not against our lawfully elected President Donald Trump, and stop wasting precious time while more horror stories are told and more Americans are killed. Congress, do your job, which includes enforce our existing laws, end DACA, mandatory E-Verify, stop visa overstays, stop non-citizens from voting, absolutely no, none, nine, zero amnesty of any kind, and birthright citizenship, heavily fine anyone aiding and abetting illegals, cap immigration numbers, clean up and speed up immigration courts, cut the job magnets, and shut down sanctuary states and cities. Secure, control, and protect our border to stop the flow of drugs, human trafficking, and close the revolving door that many illegals use to come back after being deported. Once all the freebies and incentives are removed, it will not only save American lives, but it will save the lives of those who go on these dangerous journeys to come here. Let us use the estimate $300 billion spent on illegals yearly for our own, for our children, homeless, veterans, elderly, schools, infrastructure, anything that will benefit Americans, not illegals. To the press and all mainstream media, there are so many families present here right now that were brutally affected by illegal immigration. They each deserve to be heard. Give them some time to share how their world was turned upside down. Let them tell their stories and prove that this is not a manufactured crisis and or an isolated incident, but the absolute truth, a brutal reality, and this could happen to anyone at any given moment. And finally, dear members of Congress on the left, right, in the middle, anywhere in between, we are no longer asking. We are demanding. And we're demanding this in the name of our loved ones that can no longer speak and enjoy their lives. We are their voices, and we want action now. Thank you.
For the Angel families in the crowd and law enforcement, we will reassemble at 1:30 p.m. at the Washington Court Hotel.
We're going to take a picture over here first.
Okay, we can do that. At the Washington Court Hotel at 1:30. Don't forget, by the way, we do have one more speaker that's en route. One of our congressmen, Congressman Steve Scalise, is en route. And we want to hear from him. So I am going to take a brief 5-minute break, but Congressman Scalise is en route. For all the law enforcement in the crowd, we're going to meet over here for a photo, and Congressman will be back here in 5 minutes. We're going to reconvene. He will be our last speaker. Thank you all.
Over this way.
Georgia.
Yonder. That's yonder.
Over yonder, up amongst them trees. Good talk.
That's the one we almost ate up somebody. Oh my.
It's good to turn for people who don't have that service thing going nowhere.